Hello everyone and welcome to my review of the fourth and final day of testing for the first week ahead of the F1 2017 season. Of course, still 4 more days next week, but this was the final day of the first week of testing. And topping today's session was Kimi Raikkonen in his Ferrari on the soft compound tyres for 1 minute 20.872. But that wasn't the main talking point for today. Unfortunately, it was the kind of controversial wet tyre testing that was going on today. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, last night Pirelli got a bunch of trucks and wet the track. And then this morning they got the trucks out again and wet the track artificially. And then lunchtime as well did the same thing and just let the track naturally dry out. Although naturally would not be the best word to describe it, because of course this whole process was completely artificial and pretty much completely pointless, I would say. Pirelli, I'm sure, did gather a small amount of data and it'll probably help them, but they're already changing the compounds anyway for China, which of course is round 2 this year. But yeah, it's an incredibly strange decision to do this in Barcelona, of course, a city that's renowned for its very sunny and warm conditions, and it just feels very, very strange for them to kind of wet the track. I mean, why not just go to Silverstone or Paul Ricard? Paul Ricard has its own sprinkler system, so I'm not sure why they haven't used that, especially when they've used it in the past. As early as last January, they used it for a 2-day tyre test, a wet tyre test, and it's such a shame that they couldn't do that this time round. So it did seem like a bit of a waste of a running day, especially because of course the teams only have 8 days of testing altogether for this season. It's something, of course, less than ever before, when they recently got rid of the ref test. So, testing time is more crucial than ever, and unfortunately I think this was quite a bit of waste of that testing time, and ultimately seemed pretty pointless because, of course, the rain was on the track, but there was sunny skies, and so there was water on the track and there was sunny skies, no sign of rain, so it must have been quite a strange experience for the drivers, but hopefully Pirelli gained at least something from this, but we did get, unfortunately, an interrupted session. Anyway, Kimi Raikkonen then, as I mentioned, was the fastest driver today. Soft compound tyres, of course, all these fast times came at the end of the day. Another great day for Ferrari. Wow, they're really having a fantastic pre-season test so far. This first week, they've probably been the biggest winners, along with Mercedes. Ferrari doing very, very well. No sign of a repeat of their issue, but of course, was right at the end of yesterday. Much better day for them. Well, an even better day today for them, of course, even though there was, limited running due to the rain. Or the wet on track. I shouldn't really say rain, of course, because it didn't fall from the sky. Max Verstappen was second in his Red Bull today. Interesting day for Red Bull. They did plenty of running, actually. Verstappen, of course, loves his wet conditions, and he really made the most of them. Even though, of course, it wasn't too representative. I'm sure he just wanted to get out there, and although, a lot of the teams probably wouldn't want to risk their cars, getting smashed up, I think Verstappen probably had something to say about that, and would certainly, I think, want to get out there, I think, as quickly as he could. So he got plenty of laps in today. Not quite as many as Roman Grosjean, though, in the Haas. He was doing more laps than anyone today, and that Haas tended to really, really like the conditions today, even if it was wet on track. The Haas was still out there. 1 minute 22.309 for him on the super soft compound tyres. So not quite up there with the leading times of the Ferrari or Red Bull, in fact quite a way off. But I'm not really too concerned at this stage. I think just getting some good running in is the main thing, I think, for Haas. So 118 laps then today for Roman Grosjean. Very, very productive day for Haas, exactly what they needed. And I think it's fair to say it's been a decent test for them. They've been pretty much under the radar, but they've had a good test. Antonio Giovinazzi was in the car for Sauber today. Great to see him with a proper day's running, although of course it was a bit of a shame that it was interrupted by the wet on track, of course, but he did get some running out in the rain, and I think he binned it once, but he did get back on track, so I don't think there's too much to complain about there. 84 laps as well for Giovinazzi, so some good running in. I really, really hope we're going to see him in Formula 1 next year. In my opinion, he should be on the grid this year, in the place of, I won't mention names, but you guys can guess maybe a couple of the weaker links on the grid, but I think Giovinazzi should be in place of massive star of the future. Unfortunately, he won't be racing anywhere in 2017, but of course he will be the Ferrari and Sauber reserve, and I fully expect him to be taking part in multiple practice sessions, and of course will be on standby if either a Vettel, Raikkonen, Verline or Ericsson are injured. I'm sure he'll be put straight in that Ferrari or Sauber if there are any issues. Let's of course hope, fingers crossed, there aren't, but if there are, Sauber know and Ferrari know, but they have a solid backup driver in Giovinazzi. Jolyon Palmer, what a great day for him once again. Renault having a pretty good time of it. I mean, the test kind of started quietly. Both of them and Red Bull had a fair few issues, but things have steadily improved for them, and they've had a really solid end to the week. Palmer was third quickest today. In the rain, they didn't want to kind of... I keep on saying rain. I'm just going to say rain, but you guys know what I mean. Not too much running done in the rain, but, really there isn't a great cause for concern because they did get some really good dry running in at the afternoon session, or at the end of the afternoon session, of course, once the track had dried out. And Raikkonen, Verstappen, Palmer, Grosjean and Giovinazzi are top 5. Looking outside of the top 5, we've got Sergio Perez in 6th for Force India on the super soft tyres, 1 minute 22.534. Haven't quite seen a standout lap time really from Force India yet. They haven't really been up there in the timesheets, but I guess that really doesn't matter at this stage. 82 laps for Sergio Perez today, so a pretty productive day for Force India. They've had various issues really this week. It's been far from perfect for them, but it was good to see them getting a decent amount of running in today, although they're still kind of lacking that really, really good day that I think they're looking for. But yeah, after yesterday's good day, this is exactly what they needed. 2 good days on the trot is always a good sign in testing. And below Perez, in at 7th place, was Stoffel Vandoorne in the McLaren. Ultra soft tyres for him, 1 minute 22.576. I believe that's the fastest time set by McLaren so far this test, but it's still not that quick. It was a 10th shy of Sauber on the same compound tyres, slower than, pretty much all the other teams, even though they were on harder compound tyres. Wouldn't read too much into those times, of course. We know we're getting a new Honda engine for McLaren next week, I believe. That is the aim. It might become at Melbourne, but they're trying to get it in the car for next week, and it seems pretty likely at the moment. Some new bits as well I'm expecting on that McLaren. But yeah, for Vandoorne today, he managed to do 67 laps. So not a perfect day for McLaren, but still better than their kind of disastrous first day, which we saw them have earlier in the week. That seems a far cry away from that, but of course still they are struggling and not up there with the likes of Ferrari and Red Bull and Mercedes, but long way to go, still next week, so we'll see how they improve with their new engine next week, and some new aerodynamic bits as well on that McLaren coming very, very soon. Talking of kind of bad days, Mercedes actually had a pretty bad day. Valtteri Bottas did manage to get 68 laps in the afternoon, but in the morning Hamilton had an electrical issue and was not able to run. Ironically, having made some jokes yesterday about faking a muscle injury and letting Bottas take over the car, not wanting to kind of run in the wet conditions, that's exactly what Hamilton did, not run in the morning in the wet conditions, but of course, I'm sure there is no conspiracy there. Of course, when it comes to Mercedes and conspiracies, there are quite a few to choose from. But this is certainly one of the more dafter ones. But yeah, of course, it was nothing more than just a joke. But yeah, ironically, Hamilton did not do any running this morning. With that electrical issue, shows that Mercedes aren't invincible, which I think is good to see. It was an important sign, I think, for fans and for the teams, for the other teams to see that they're not completely invincible. But yeah, I think Mercedes will probably be bouncing straight back, really. Next month, I'm sure, but next week rather. I think this will certainly just be a kind of a blot on what otherwise has been a fantastic week for the reigning world champions. So I think not too much concern for Mercedes. They're probably they did fix the issue, so no real worries for them. Hülkenberg was 9th for the other Renault, of course. They split driving duties between Palmer and Hülkenberg. Not too much running done for Renault today, but they did have a very solid day, setting 90 laps. I almost kind of forgot about Hülkenberg, but yes, they did split the driving duties between Hülkenberg and Palmer. So there you go. As I mentioned then, Hamilton not setting a time. We got Felipe Massa as well. Williams didn't run today because of the damage caused by Lance Stroll yesterday. Obviously, we talked quite a bit about that yesterday, but yeah. Not a good look for Stroll, of course, and it has cost Williams today, especially, of course, considering Williams are pretty awful in the rain, and they probably could have done with some wet tyre running today, but it wasn't to be. Toro Rosso as well, 1 lap for them today because there was an engine change. Danny Kvyat pretty much came straight back into the pits, and a new engine was changed a new engine was put in that car for Toro Rosso, the old one taken out. And no running today. No running today for Toro Rosso or for Williams. So it's been a difficult week, I think, for both of them. I think if I had to pick the biggest losers from this week, it would probably be McLaren and Toro Rosso. They're definitely probably having the worst kind of test. Force India as well, not having too great a test. Yeah, certainly I think up the top end, once again, it's Ferrari and Red Bull, and although Mercedes had an off day today, I'm sure they were back when the test resumes next Tuesday, I believe, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then of course just a couple of weeks, or 3 weeks on Sunday to wait until the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. Anyway, we'll be back at the weekend, hopefully, to do a kind of recap and review and some early predictions ahead of course, the F1 2017 season after this first week of testing. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this review. I will see you guys next time. I've been Joshua Suttill. Hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.